All right, hello everyone. It is a summer evening in August. The skies are a little smoky, but largely free of clouds. So I am on my way up to Rocky Mountain National Park to try and get some Milky Way shots, hopefully without any more misadventures like I've had recently. So let's head up to the mountains, keep our fingers crossed for less smoke, and off we go. All right, I have made it up here to the Farview Curve overlook on Trail Ridge Road here in Rocky Mountain National Park. Now, I took photos from this viewpoint about 3 years ago that came out pretty good, but I'm back here to try it again to try and do it even better. Now, what I've done since then is I've stopped here in the daytime and kind of plotted out an exact point to shoot from, because there is a lot of trees around this overlook because it is down back below tree line on the western side of the park. And so if you're not on the right spot, your views down to the Kawanichi Valley below are going to be obscured. So I've been here on the daytime and kind of figured out exactly where I want to stand, and then plotted from that point using my TPE and TPE 3D apps, and figured out the composition that I want with the Milky Way, and now I'm here to give it another shot. So let's get out there and see what we can see. So I'm out here at my spot, just looking around at what we got going on here, and I don't know if it will show up on the Osmo super good, but I am noticing there's a lot of particles in the air, and I'm kind of hoping that's not an ominous sign with the wildfire smoke, like maybe there's a bunch of particles from that in the air. Hoping not. I haven't set up my camera yet to start taking some test shots, but I am hoping for the best. And I did also pull out my Photo Pills app, and I'll try and get that up here in view of the camera. Can use the night AR to kind of see where the Milky Way is in between those trees. And I'll pull that up here. Yeah, so looking at the night AR, I don't know how well you can see that. Maybe too bright. Let me try and turn down the brightness of my headlamp. Let's see if that helps. Still probably super bright. But what you can kind of see there, okay, it's out of the tree on the left side. We got some time before it gets to that tree on the right side, and I can actually see about how much time. So I've got till about, let's say about 12:30 before I start losing it behind that tree. So optimum time here is kind of from right now, which is just before 11 to about 12:30. So I got about an hour and a half. So, and I'm also trying to line it up with the valley farther out there, which you probably can't see. I can actually see some lights from campfires and stuff maybe, or just people's camping lights down at the campground in the valley. It's always an interesting thing when shooting the night shots from there. But here we are, and I'll go ahead and get set up and we'll keep going. All right, so I've got my camera set up here and getting ready to get started. Now there's maybe a question out there for some of you that may have done astrophotography here in Rocky Mountain National Park before in the summertime. And that may be about another location here on the western side of Trail Ridge Road that a lot of people shoot at. And that is Lake Irene. And I have done some pretty good shots there before, but I did actually pull in there tonight to think about maybe trying that one again as well. But as you've probably just seen in the introduction of this video, there was a number of cars that I actually caught up with coming across Trail Ridge tonight. And just about all of those cars pulled into Lake Irene ahead of me as well. And so I kind of made the decision to go ahead and let them have at it. You know, there were 4 or 5 cars, who knows how many people were in them, that were going down to the lake to photograph there. And I wasn't going to spend a ton of time there anyway, because this shot at Farview Curve was my main goal for tonight. And so I decided, you know, just to let them go for it, not go down there and disturb them with my filming that I wanted to do. And since that wasn't my primary goal for tonight anyway, I just decided to just go ahead and continue on down here to Farview Curve and do this shot. Now, Lake Irene is a great spot. If you haven't tried that one before, it's definitely a good spot to think about as well. But we'll go ahead and get started here. Now, a lot of times more recently, I've been kind of going straight to my 35mm f1.8 lens to start shooting with. But I think tonight I am going to start with my 16-28 zoom. That's an f2.8, and I'm going to see what that looks like. And then at some point I'll probably try the 35 as well. But I'm going to start out with this one and see what this composition comes out like first. Probably working in a few different spots in that zoom range. So let's give it a shot. All right, so I'm just going to do a quick review here again on how I do my manual focusing to infinity, especially with this lens that can be a little more tricky. So I've got my live view turned on, and see if by turning that off you can maybe see it a little better with the Osmo. So I'm going to start zooming in a little bit and trying to find a star or something that's pretty bright. And I think I see one right there, maybe. And so I'm going to keep zooming in on that. And I hope you can see that fairly well. And so I'm just going to turn that manual focusing ring back and forth a little bit. And that one may not actually be a star because it doesn't seem to be moving. It may just be. Let's make sure I got this. Yeah, okay. The idea is to make your star as small as possible. But that doesn't seem to be affecting that one at all. So I'm going to zoom back out and maybe try and find one that's a little brighter. That's going to work a little better. I may just have to swing around to Jupiter over there and focus on that. It's unfortunate that Jupiter is not right in the Milky Way this year like it has been the last couple years. So let me reposition and we'll try that. All right, I've repositioned over to Jupiter, and as I zoom in, I'm thinking you should be able to see it on the screen pretty decently well here on the Osmo. Yeah, I think it's picking it up. So again, I'm going to turn my manual focusing ring on my lens, And the point is to make that point of light from Jupiter as small as possible. And that means I am focused on the infinity point. So we'll kind of adjust that back and forth. And I think that's the spot right there. And so then I will swing back over to my Milky Way composition, being very careful not to bump my focusing ring, and we'll be all set. All right, so there is my first test shot, and I think that's actually coming out fairly well. I don't know how well you can see it on the Osmo, but the Milky Way is really visible. It does appear there's kind of a smoke layer on the horizon, so that may affect some of the clarity on the mountains across the valley and all that. But the Milky Way is very visible, quite a few stars. Now this is also all the way out at 16 millimeters. I'll probably zoom in a little bit more and try some more. And you can see some of the light from the campground down there in the valley as well. Now what I'll end up doing, and there went my shot, but what I'll end up doing is blending exposures with the foreground and then Milky Way so I can pick up some more detail in the valley because it is so dark out here. So I'll get to work. All right, so taking one more look at this composition on the back of my camera. I did try zooming in a little bit, and I found that if I am going to include the trees, I probably want it all the way out at this 16 millimeters. And then probably what I'll do later on is zoom completely past these trees on each side so you can't even see them anymore. I also would like the Milky Way just to slide a little farther to the right to line up with the valley kind of really well. But I do like what we got going on here. I may try and do some of the foreground shots first with the longer exposure, lower ISO, all of that for the blend, just to get that out of the way. And then once the Milky Way slides just a touch farther to the right, I'll shoot that part of this composition, and then I'll try some longer focal lengths. But this is where we're at. I am shooting this with my Nikon D750 at ISO 5000 and at 16 millimeters with this lens. There you can kind of see it. I generally run about 10 seconds at f3.2 just because it does get some coma in the corners at f2.8. So there we go. All right, so I've just finished up my foreground exposure, and I settled on a 10-minute exposure tonight at ISO 800 and at f4, I believe. Yeah. And that allowed me to gather enough light in that dark valley to actually make it show up. So what I'm going to do now is shoot my exposures for the Milky Way. Now, since I do not have a star tracker, I do something that is called stacking to bring out more detail in the sky. And what that means is I'll fire off a bunch of shots in succession at the 10 seconds f3.2 ISO 5000, probably do about 25, and then a few of what we call dark frames, and stack those all together on my computer at home to lower the noise in the image and bring out more detail. So I'm going to get started firing those off right now. And if this one turns out good and it's worth seeing, I will show it to you right after this clip. done all the shots for my stacking. So this wide angle shot at 16 millimeters is complete now. So what I'm going to do is zoom in more with this one, probably go all the way into the 28 millimeter focal length and see how that looks. I do have a little bit of cloud creeping into the bottom of the Milky Way now, so I do have some concern that zooming in close there may not be much left, but there's only one way to find out, so let's give it a shot. All right, so what you can see there from this first test shot is that cloud is definitely having an impact. I'm hoping it'll keep moving along, but what I'm also seeing is even at 28 millimeters, I'm not quite all the way past those trees. So I think I'm going to pull the 35 millimeter out of my camera bag now and give that one a try. And then probably wait and hope that cloud moves out of the way. So we'll try that one and see what that looks like. All right, so I do have my 35 millimeter lens mounted on there now, and this is also an f1.8 lens, so I do some tweaks to my exposure when I mount this one. I knock my shutter speed down to about 6 seconds to prevent trailing of the stars, but it also allows me to open up my aperture up to f2.2. I haven't tried it a whole lot yet at f2 and f1.8 to check for chroma. I have read it's best to stop this lens down a little bit as well. This is the Tamron 35 millimeter f1.8. So I've often been shooting with it at f2.2 and I've been very pleased with the results so far. So we'll do some test shots with this one and see what that looks like. All right, so as you can see there, at least maybe I'm hoping you can see, the 35 millimeter on there, it does get really tight on the Milky Way, and we are past the trees that were on the sides of the shot at 28 millimeter, at least for the most part. And that cloud that was kind of covering up the core of the galaxy has moved itself out more. So I think this is going to be a good position here. I'm going to go ahead and keep working this shot. I'll probably do my Milky Way shots first in this case, so the 25 shots for the stack and all that, just because the Milky Way is kind of right where I want it right now. And then I'll do the foreground after that. So we'll get to work. All right, I am waiting just a little bit longer for that cloud to dissipate a little bit more, but we are closing in on 12:15. So my time is getting short to get the Milky Way there where I want it before it starts shifting too far to the right. So grabbed myself a little snack, but I'm going to go ahead and start shooting those shots for the stacked sky now. One thing that is tricky about being here out at night by yourself is you can hear everything going on in these woods around you because it is so quiet. There's some nice water running down the hill somewhere down below me where a creek is running or something, but I have heard some movement in the woods as well. So keep turning these lights on every few minutes just to give me some peace of mind maybe. All right, so I did finish up all the exposures for my stack, and that cloud did move out of the way, so I think that's going to come out really great. I've also done my long exposure for the foreground. And now it is past 12:30, so the Milky Way is sliding out of that ideal position for tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and get started packing stuff up and head towards home. And we'll see you on the other side of this to see how these shots turned out. These are some examples of some night sky photography I captured in Rocky Mountain National Park in the summer and fall of 2021. If If you would like to join me on a night photography workshop in Rocky Mountain National Park, visit my website at nicholasjensenphotography.com and click on that Classes and Workshops tab to get signed up. I've just added new dates for 2022. There's a link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.